Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today on the Divine Messages podcast. My name is Karina, and I am a psychic medium out of Calgary, Alberta. Today's episode is all about insecurity. In the episode that I had released a few months ago called Guilt, I had explained that guilt is one of the lowest emotions according to the emotional guidance scale. Well, insecurity and unworthiness share the same level on the scale as guilt. And recently, I had found old photos that were taken about 23 years ago, and they inspired me to do this episode. I was also recently speaking to one of my students who has 2 teen daughters, and she had mentioned how they can both struggle with insecurity. And really, don't we all? I know I sure have, and I still do to this day. I've even done an entire episode called Self-Love because I struggled that badly in my younger years. Questioning everything about myself started at a very young age. I never felt good enough for anything or anyone. I felt beyond flawed, and it took me until my 40th birthday to begin to start appreciating little things about myself. And I say little things because it isn't easy to love and appreciate who you are and the vessel that your soul resides in. So when I found these photos after all these years, they reminded me of how I felt looking at them right after they were taken. I was 26 years old at the time, and a photographer that I had worked with several times had taken them for the talent agency that I worked with at the time. I needed them for my comp card to take with me on auditions. I remember every photo shoot that I had done, I would spend an insane, and I mean insane amount of time picking myself apart in each and every single photo that I looked at after. I was extremely insecure about my body and my face. And I felt that no matter how hard I tried to like the photos, I just couldn't. So when I saw these pictures again after all this time, I knew that I needed to do an episode all about insecurity. I sat there going through so many of these photos and I was shocked. What I thought of myself back then is so sad, really. I thought that I looked fat and awful. But what I saw looking at them recently was a young woman who was so far from what I once perceived myself to be. And all I could think of was, oh my God, if I could just go back in time, I would tell myself how much I appreciated how I looked back then. Honestly, I would kill to have that body of mine again. But I've also had to try to appreciate the almost 50-year-old me. In the Guilty episode, I talked about how I don't have enough time to look after my physical being because I'm spread way too thin. I barely have time to cook a meal for my family, let alone work out. But I've had to come to a place of acceptance. I know that there are many people also going through insecurity like I am. And many make the time and have the energy to work out and stuff, but I've had to find acceptance for my life and the way that I look now. Things have changed a lot as I have gotten older, and I'm still going to have insecurities. It is a very human emotion. But what I know that I cannot do is pick myself apart like I did when I was younger. What a shame it is, really, that I have wasted so many years criticizing myself. And the crazy thing is that there may be others out there wishing to have what we have. Think about that for a second. Have you ever looked at someone and wished that you had their legs or their hair, etc.? But if you only knew that what you see as beautiful, that person may be hating about themselves. As I approach 50 in a couple of months, I have learned something very important about this stage of my life. I have learned how important it is to speak to myself with love. My soul chose this body to experience this life with, and it is about time that I started to truly love and respect it. Over the years, I criticized every little thing about my being. And I would never, ever speak to a friend the way that I have spoken to myself. So why would I treat my body this poorly? Now, what I'm about to say is going to sound rather heavy, but I'm really trying to make a point of how important it is to be kind to your body, mind, and soul. As a medium and speaking to so many spirits on the other side, they have truly taught me some of the most valuable lessons. And one of those lessons is to treat our bodies with the utmost respect and love. They had told me that their body image was the very last thing that they cared about on their deathbed. Oh, and money. None of them ever had 1 ounce of worry or thought about those 2 things. And yet, we all care so much about the way that we look and the money that we don't have. This last year, I have been quite hard on myself. I hate to even admit that, but it's the truth. I have been angry and frustrated that my body has changed so much in my late 40s. Stress has really done a number on me in so many ways, and I'm trying my best to take better care of myself. But I know that the number one thing that I need to start with is acceptance. Again, accepting where I'm at in life. Remembering to appreciate all that I have accomplished in these last 49 years, all that I have overcome, and all that I've healed. That is huge, and I've forgotten to be kind and love myself. I was better to myself a couple of years ago, but things slowly started to go downhill and my old self creep back in. And it's not just insecurity about my body. It has been insecurity about my entire being. I've questioned if I've been a good enough healer and medium. I've questioned if I am really making a difference in this world, something that I've strived to do for so many years. I've basically been questioning my soul on every possible level that you can imagine. It is so easy these days to get lost on social media with comparison. No wonder so many people are struggling with low self-esteem. Everyone is getting carried away with watching complete strangers very openly share their lives. And the problem with that is that most of those people are just as insecure themselves. They just hide it well. You are only seeing their highlight reel. That is not their true selves. We have a tendency to view others through rose-colored glasses. We don't see their struggles or insecurities. And most times we even believe that they couldn't possibly have them. But trust me, they do. I do, and always have as well. So for example, back when I was in high school, that was absolutely the most that I have ever struggled with self-esteem. I even wrote in my diary multiple times how I hated everything about myself. I couldn't look in a mirror without being disgusted with how I looked and how I felt. Not only from the outside, but the inside as well. We used to go to many parties. Some of them back then were huge bush parties, and some were smaller house parties. Well, there was this guy who was known to be rich and the most popular guy in school. He always threw these massive house parties, and everybody was always happy to go there. He was about a year older than me, and every time I went, he would look at me briefly and then turn right away. It always made me feel uncomfortable. Not really because of him, but because of myself. I felt like I didn't belong there. I felt everyone was better than me, and I had no business being there at all. Well, fast forward over 20 years, and he found me on Instagram, as well as a few other people that I went to high school with. I found it a bit odd that he would add me, but my brother is also friends with him, so I figured that maybe that's why. Anyways, I had posted a picture on my Instagram, and to my complete surprise, he commented on it. I had posted a picture of myself in Hawaii with zero makeup on, and this is what I wrote in the post on August 1st, 2018. Self-esteem has been coming up a lot lately with my clients. I am 42, almost 43 years old. Sadly, it took me until my 30s to appreciate myself. Too many posts on social media are making people even more insecure and unsure of themselves. I used to never leave the house without makeup. Now, don't get me wrong, I still enjoy wearing it some days. But what has happened, though, is that I feel like I no longer need to wear a mask. I am okay with how I was made, in quotation marks. I struggled so much with the way that I looked and the color of my skin. I never felt that I fit in. My mother is from Pakistan and my father is from Czech Republic. I always felt out of place somehow. But in the last 10 years, I have learned that I do not need to fit in. What is normal anyways? I finally learned that just being me is enough. I do not need anyone to validate me. This photo is in the raw, no makeup, and I feel good. May all of you find your confidence and peace. You do not need validation from others because guess what? They are struggling themselves. Hold your head high and shine your light as bright as you can, as this is what the world needs now. Now, back to his comment on the post. He wrote, "Great message, and I always did think you were one of the most beautiful girls that I had ever laid eyes on." So first of all, he could have just been trying to be kind because of my heavy post. But second of all, if there was any truth in his words, I can't help but think, I wish I would have known how someone viewed me back then in those high school years. I hated myself so much. I hated everything about me. And here I was thinking that I was the ugliest person in the world, and he thought the opposite? It is so sad how hard we can be on ourselves, and yet if we could only see and know how others viewed us. It wasn't until I met my husband at 21 that I started to feel a little bit better about myself. Not a lot, but a tiny bit. That's because he always tried to make me feel beautiful. And over the years, I would go up and down with my self-esteem. I would be so angry at myself if my favorite pair of jeans got a little bit snug, or I would beat myself up if I ate too much in one sitting. And I know we all do this. I haven't met one person yet that doesn't struggle within themselves. And how sad is that? And now as I approach my wisdom era, I'm trying my best to be kinder to myself. I'm trying to appreciate this physical body of mine, but I still have many moments of being overly critical on myself. So last week, I had to go with my older son to get our passport photos done, and I was having a little bit of a down day. I really just wasn't feeling very good about myself. This perimenopause that I'm going through is not very easy. So many changes within the physical body, and it can really make things even harder when it comes to your self-esteem. Anyways, we sit down and take our photos by this cute young girl. I noticed that she had fake freckles on her face, and all I could think of was, geez, she must have spent a good amount of time painting those cute freckles on. But back when I was her age, I was hating mine. So when we go to pay, she was getting a little bit shy and awkward, and then all of a sudden she looks at me and says, "I just have to tell you how pretty you are." Honestly, I didn't know what to say. You know when someone compliments you and you awkwardly freeze? Yeah, that's what I did. Why can't I take a compliment properly? I guess I just never felt good enough, so if someone says something nice to me, I just don't know what to do with it. This goes all the way back to my childhood where I was told that I wasn't good enough. I was openly criticized for my body and my looks by my parents, and it's really hard to move past that. Having a strong sense of self-esteem is not easy. I wish that I could meet someone that loved themselves completely, but sadly, I haven't yet. I've met some incredible people in my lifetime, and there have been some that I just can't take my eyes off of. Not only does their outer beauty shine, but they were shining from within as well. And I would sit there envying them, but then sadly, they would voice their insecurity, and I would be completely shocked. I for sure thought that they couldn't possibly be insecure. I loved their hair, their eyes, their body. I thought that they were perfect. I would be sitting there wishing I looked like them, and then I would go into that mode of self-loathing, picking myself apart until I felt completely unworthy. And really, don't we all do that? Always wishing we had something of someone else. And why? Why can't we just love the physical being that we chose before we came to Earth? What we don't like about ourselves, someone is wishing they had. We beat ourselves up over that damn meal that we had because we worry that our pants won't fit. But you know what? I love that movie, Eat, Love, and Pray, with Julia Roberts. In it, she says, "I'm going for it," as she eats pizza. "I'm through with the guilt, and tomorrow we're going to go on a little date and buy ourselves some bigger jeans." And what a smart thing that is to do, instead of forcing ourselves into a pair that is too tight. So much guilt comes with that. This year, I have vowed to work really hard at accepting and loving where I am at in life. Well, at least as best as I can. I really want to live my life to the fullest. I started traveling more, I've started taking more time to myself, and I've really been trying to be grateful for all of the amazing people, places, and things that I have been blessed with. So why do we all have these insecurities, and where do they stem from? Well, the truth is that they are old wounds that were never healed. For example, past criticisms. Perhaps a parent, friend, or relative criticized us while we were growing up. We could have been teased or picked on by classmates in school. Those criticisms really stick with us. They may die down over the years, but the most hurtful ones will remain deep-rooted. Secondly is a need for approval. When we are complimented, we feel we have someone's approval, and that feels so good. But the problem with that is that we become in constant need to be validated by others. And if we don't get that, we can spiral into a negative mindset of insecurities. Third is, as I said earlier about social media. It is so hard to not constantly be bombarded with pictures, videos, and ads, all with beautiful people. We can get caught in a dangerous cycle of comparison, and it can become so toxic. And lastly is a lack of trust. We fear rejection and abandonment. And if we have ever been let down in our past, even just once, we become so fearful that everyone is going to let us down in life. And essentially we start to not even trust ourselves. And there we go again, down a rabbit hole of fear and insecurities. So what can you do to build your self-esteem? Well, the first thing would be to catch yourself before things get out of control. Acknowledge that an insecurity is arising and sit with it. Ask yourself, what has been triggered within you that is causing this feeling? Is it an old wound that needs some more love and healing? The key thing to do is to feel every single emotion, all of those icky feelings. Don't stifle them down because believe me, they will come rising up so fast to the surface in so many different ways. Secondly, forgive the past and the people who hurt you. If you could understand that perhaps they were reacting because of their own insecurities and maybe struggling in their own way, it will be easier to let the hurt go and move on. Third, learn to love and accept all of you. There are always going to be things that you don't like about yourself, but if you can accept that this is the vessel your soul chose before coming here, the more that you can try to find the things that you do appreciate about your physical being. Work on accepting the stage of where you are at in life. You are always going to be changing, and knowing this may be easier to accept whatever stage you may be in at the moment. Fourth, you don't need anyone else's approval or validation. Learn to approve and accept yourself. Take a moment a day to look at yourself in the mirror and say something really kind to yourself, just as you would to a friend. Take a look at an old photo and see the beauty in what once was. But then have a look at a current one and appreciate all that you are in this very moment. Be proud of everything you have achieved and overcome over the years. There is beauty just in that itself. Fifth, work really hard at not comparing yourself to others. If you could just appreciate that we all have different paths in this life, even if what you see in someone else that you may feel envious of, remember that that is their journey to live, and you have yours. Find something that brings you your own joy and wish others well. You will attract more things to be happy about when you are truly happy for others. Sixth, start complimenting others when you see something in them that you admire. The more beauty that you start to see in others will allow you to see it in yourself. You never know just how much that person needs that compliment for their soul. Don't be afraid to speak up and tell others how you view them. And lastly, work extra hard on trust. Not everyone has poor intentions for you, and not everyone is intentionally trying to hurt you. And most importantly, learn to trust yourself. You've made it this far, haven't you? Hard lessons and all. Trust that you can feel confident and proud of yourself. It is possible. You just have to truly want to. So I want to leave you all with this today. Insecurity is something that each and every one of us has, whether that be a personal insecurity, a professional one, or a relationship one. We all have something. The most important thing that I hope you take away from this episode today is that you recognize what a waste of time and energy insecurity is. Time to start truly living and not sweating the small stuff. I will be posting those old photographs that I had found on my Instagram and Facebook pages for you to see. I can now finally look back on them with such love and appreciation for what I once was. So on to the new chapter of my life, becoming a 50-year-old woman full of wisdom and strength like never before. Thank you all so much for joining me today on the Divine Messages podcast. If you would like to book a reading with me, I can be reached at www.divinemessages.ca or on Instagram at divinemessages333 or at the Divine Messages podcast. Please bear in mind that the perspectives and opinions represented in this podcast are based solely on the divine messages interpretations. We can in no way be held responsible for the actions of our followers.